Look, hey, if you had Jake Allen in Edmonton's net right now, Borny, they'd be in a better position.
Yeah.
All right. That's the type of
That's
situation
depressing.
you put Jake Allen in. It's true, though.
Yeah.
It's true. From January 1st, Jake was the fourth best performing goalie in overall expected saves. So, you're not getting somebody that's hurting. And I think he's still 34 years old. He's not over the hump.
Yeah.
And I think he'd come in at a price point that a team like Edmonton, don't forget, Edmonton's not supposed to have Stu Skinner as their number one right now. It's supposed to be Jack Campbell. He should be in year 3, I think, of his contract. It's almost unfair to pile on Stu Skinner.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at other goalies around the league that can come in and fill a void where you're not going to spend top dollar, Alex Lyon would be another option, or Chris Drieger. Jonas Johansson, I like a lot in Tampa Bay, but there is not a blue chip find that you can really pull in like we've seen in the last couple of years.
What about Dan Vladar?
No.
No. What about Anton Forsberg? My last one.
No.
Okay.
Forsberg I've liked over the years. I have, but I don't think he's there. You know who I think is
Drieger.
sneaky, Borny? You know who I think
Yeah,
is
you said that.
sneaky? Jet Greaves is to me, he's right there with Dustin Wolf. I think this kid's unreal. I think he's great. I think Jet Greaves, if he's as good as I think he is, and Columbus thinks possibly he is, maybe it's Elvis Merzlikins that somebody's willing to be able to capture from Columbus. And I say that with a little bit of reservation. You need a very good goalie coach that can teach him how to manage depth and odd man rushes and rush play altogether. Because the only guy that's worse off the rush than Stu Skinner over the last 3 years is Merzlikins, but he's very strong in all of the other areas. So when you can look at a goalie, maybe you're a team that doesn't give up an awful lot off the rush, that helps. But then you can just help him piece together his rush game and his reads. I don't think rush is that difficult to learn. You just have to understand, if you're Elvis Merzlikins, that you don't have to over-challenge the shot the way that he does, and that's why he's so susceptible to the east-west stuff.
Have we talked to Valley since DeBoer has been fired in Dallas?
No.
So was this just a foregone conclusion that Ottinger and Peter DeBoer could no longer be in harmony moving forward here for you?
Yeah, I got a couple calls after that one. Thanks for the exposure on that one, boys.
Yeah.
I had my opinions on it, and, I think that's why you guys bring me on here. I just knew it was going to happen. I knew. As soon as Pete said that, I said in my head, I was like, fired. That's just the way, I just think that's just the way the cookie crumbles, and he went overboard on it. Maybe he wishes to, relinquish a few of the comments. But I never saw that working. You know what I thought would have happened, Kipper? If they don't make a change there, whether they keep DeBoer and seemingly move on from Ottinger, if DeBoer started that season, he wouldn't have made it to Christmas. It just never works. It was like Jacob Trouba starting the season for the Rangers this year when he was almost should have been traded over the summer. It just never works.
So just to follow up, my colleague here, JB, wrote a raving article on sportsnet.ca that people should go revisit, and it just basically talks about how soft the players are today and that they can't take anything remotely, even as critical as, it came across from DeBoer. And I know the coaches union loved his article. I'm not sure about the rest of the players in the league, but there is something to be said about JB's article here, Valley.
I don't disagree with what I'm sure it's a great article, and I'm sure I would agree with all of it, except I don't believe these athletes nowadays have the thick skin that you two guys had, or that I had.
That's
what
it.
Coaches used to say to me, you wouldn't believe it.
Well, hey, I certainly would.
Yeah, we would believe it.
Same era, pal.
Yeah.
It's not that it was fun, but, it didn't have to be a relationship ruiner either. It felt like, hey, shouldn't have said that. Let's talk about it. Figure it out.
Hey, JB, I'm on the ice with these kids, like college kids, USHL kids, OHL kids, every day right now. You wouldn't believe what I can't say to them, what I used to say to them 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just different, man. They even talk back to me. I made this kid go down and back today because I was like, hey, man, you missed the low blocker the last 3 shots. He goes, no, I didn't. I was like, what? Like, if you're going to talk back, at least be good. Down and back.
Down and back. There it is.
Followed up with a why. Why do I need to go down and back?
Tell me more. Yeah. I don't agree with that.
What is, like, you hear the buzzwords from the coaches, holding the standard, hunting the standard, and culture.
Ugh,
you know what
business jargon.
You know what it really, it's so annoying, right? But you know what it is really is, if I tell a goalie before the exercise begins that I need you to be like a lion in the Serengeti attacking that puck and getting it like you haven't eaten in 2 weeks. And then he lets a soft rebound out and lets it go in on a rebound or doesn't chase and try and freeze it. At the end of the exercise, I just say down and back. Like, that's holding them accountable. They want to learn how to compete, they just don't know how. And I think in a lot of cases, NHL players still have to be held accountable. And I wasn't kidding what I said last week. If you pay the coaches too much, they're not going to stick their neck out as much. It's just the way it is. I remember talking to a GM about this a little while ago, and I said, why don't you pay the scouts more? You know what he said? If you pay them too much, they won't stick their neck out to make a call on a guy. Something to think about, right? If you pay them too much, are they going to stick their neck out and not make a call on a guy? Or if you pay them the right amount, that sweet spot of money, then they want to move up the ladder, so they will stick their neck out.
Right.
And that's where I wonder if the coaches aren't falling in that same trap.
Why do you think our show's so good? It's because we're vastly underpaid.
Well, you got me.
I got nothing to lose.
We got nothing to lose.
Hey, you know what I really liked from your show yesterday, talking to Chris Pronger, when he was talking about being 2 feet away from the net. That was a nice one. As soon as he said it, I wrote it down, Borny, and then when it came back on, you said the same thing.
Yeah.
So I looked it up because I really, I'm trying to get teams and players to understand how valuable broken plays are. Well, what Pronger's saying is I want to be away from the net so I'm not a broken play going off my skate into my own net. So the broken play goal that went in more than any other goal this year was the attempt east to west across the front of the net, tight to the net. And it scored 115 goals this year on 333 chances. And the next closest broken play was 95 goals on a layered screen off point shots. So the more valuable broken play is the east to west at the top of the crease than it even is from the point, if you can believe that.
Excellent stuff, buddy. Excellent stuff as always. So appreciate you on a Tuesday, pal. Thanks for doing this.
All right, boys. I might not see you again. Have a great summer.
Oh no! Hey!
No.
What?
Yeah. We got a year-end show here.
We'll talk.
Thanks, Valley.
Buddy, you disappear on us, it's over.
Let's put a pin in that one.
Hey, can we edit that out on the podcast? Valley's telling us he's done for the year.
I think that's fair. It is June.
Great stuff.
We have wrung a lot of juice out of that man.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible. Anyway.
Game time there, Sammy boy.
Sure. It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app, latest odds, and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. And in another edition of Deep Regrets that Sam McKee didn't bet, the Conn Smythe futures. The favorite for the Conn Smythe that I brought up on this very show mere days ago.
Bam, send it.
It is absolutely Sam Bennett, the favorite for the Conn Smythe Trophy at plus 125. And when I talked about it, it was plus 1,400.
I don't think he needs to score another goal. They just need to win 2 games.
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys how sure you were that he was scoring as soon as he broke in on that breakaway? I was like, I honestly just turned off the TV.
There's no part of the deke where you felt like Skinner had a hope.
No.
Okay.
But hold on.
Is he? Okay, go ahead.
Here's my thing with the whole Sam Bennett's going to win the Conn Smythe thing. No. I think I'm about to make a very reasonable point.
Okay.
If you asked Florida who was more important, before every game I could remove Barkov or Bennett from your lineup, I think they would all say Barkov's our most important guy. If Barkov's not in, I don't think Bennett has the chance to be who he is. And I know it's just about how matchups fall. Bennett plays like 16 and a half minutes.
I know.
Barkov's out there 21-30 against top guys.
But
he's more important.
But he's more important. Yes, no one will argue that. But Bennett's had more important impact plays, if that makes any sense. And that's That's what it is. That's what the Conn Smythe is. It's like
Barkov's the wind beneath his wings.
Who stands out when the game's on the line or there's a difference maker in a goal or a play? And Bennett's had a number of those.
For sure.
And he's not the most important player and he's not their best player, but he's had that window where he's been the most impactful.
And he defines their culture more than Barkov does. Like when you think of the Panthers, you think about the guy.
But
who
the
hits.
the hit before the breakaway.
Yeah, he plows Pod Coles and then he goes and
Come on.
leads the rush on a breakaway.
That was close to a bad scene.
Yeah, it was. You
It's
know,
a
but that
classic
It's a
Bennett
memorable
headhunting.
goal.
yeah, for sure. Listen, no argument. He has been the Florida Panther. You're like, I remember him from that playoff push or
And
that cup push.
I think he's underrated with his hockey IQ and even his skill.
Kipper, there is zero part of Sam Bennett that is underrated right now.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
rating of Sam
I mean,
Bennett is.
he
Well,
is-
no.
if anything, he is bordering on extremely overrated.
It wasn't that long ago. Someone on this panel, not me or you,
Yes.
said, "I'm not paying that for 60 points this season." And he
No,
very
51's his career high. Let's be clear.
51. Okay,
Yeah.
worse.
Buddy, 8 years, you're going to get 40-point seasons, and he's going to be 35. And, you know, it's.
Yeah,
you got to be
I get
careful with this deal.
I know. I
You-
know.
You want to pay for the future, not the past.
Nah, I
these
disagree.
type of deals that
Do
we're
not be careful.
These type of deals that we're looking at moving forward, they never really age well for anybody.
Fortunately, the cap's going to go way up over his deal. So.
And last thing before we